So as I stated earlier, the Minority Enterprise Grant Program, this is a grant that provides up to $25,000 to local Black, Latinx owned businesses for the purposes of promoting business success, for the purposes of promoting job retention, and also for the purpose of promoting job creation. Okay, so let's talk about the guidelines for this grant. As I stated already, you do have to be located in Winston-Salem or Forsyth County. Your business has to have been established on or prior to January the 1st, 2022. You have to be an African-American owner or a Latinx business. Okay, so this is specifically for Black, African-American, and Latinx business owners in Winston-Salem and or Forsyth County. The guidelines. The grant funds are up to $25,000, right? We talked a little bit about what the use of funds, what they can be used for. They can be used for general operating expenses, salary, wages, lease, rent payments, working capital, and or capital expenditures. And so it's very important when you're filling out the application and when you're filling out and completing the budget that you complete this in detail, because our committee will review what you intend to use these funds for. And so those are the guidelines. It's up to $25,000 and it can be used for salary, wages, capital expenditures, capital expenses, and or working capital. I've already talked a little bit about eligibility. So you do have to be Black or Latinx owned, operated and located in Forsyth County as of January the 1st of 2022. Your business cannot have gross annual sales that exceed $1 million, right? And then you do have to have between 1 and 25 employees, right? So it's very important that you take note to the eligibility requirements for this grant. Now, I know some people may be asking, are nonprofits, can nonprofits, if I'm a nonprofit, can I apply? And the answer to that is, unfortunately, you cannot. This is for for-profit businesses. So I do urge you, we're going to talk about the required documentation and what's going to be needed in order for you to successfully apply for this grant, right? Because our committee, we will go through the documentation, and if there is incomplete documents, if there's something that is not clear, where we cannot make a clear determination, it is on you as the business owner to provide clear and concise and appropriate documentation, right? So let's go over that documentation. We'll talk about what's needed. The first thing that you're going to need is an itemized budget for the grant amount that you are requesting. And I will pull up the budget template and we'll walk through what that budget template looks like and how you should break down what those expenses will be used for. But it's very important that you provide an itemized budget. So if you're requesting 25,000, if you're requesting 10,000, 15,000, we're needing you to really itemize what those funds are going to be used for. And so we'll walk through that template. You're also going to need to provide, and there'll be space on the application for you to actually upload these documents. Your itemized budget, your 2022 profit and loss statement year to date. Now, it's very important. There may be businesses that don't have a profit and loss statement. If you're not operating in that space, you're going to need that. And we will talk about what that is. You're going to actually have to submit a 2023 annual budget. Now, I know some people may be stating it's 2022. I haven't made a budget for 2023, but it's very important that you create a budget and submit that for 2023, because this is going to let us know what you intend to do with these funds and how your business intends to function in 2023. Because we're going to analyze these statements and these documents to make a determination if you're eligible and if you are a good fit for this grant. You're also going to need to submit your W-9, and we'll walk through that as well. And that W-9 is very important. It's a tax form, but because this is a grant and because these funds have been granted, the organization that deploys these funds, they need that W-9 because they also issue 1099s as well. And then you're going to also need to provide your latest business bank account statement. So let's walk through these documents. I'm hoping everybody can still see my screen as I pull this up. First document that I'm going to walk through is your itemized budget for your grant request. Right. And I hope everybody can see this. So you're going to need to submit an itemized budget with your grant request. This is an example of what that itemized budget template that we will provide looks like.
Can't see it.
Hassani. Yeah,
You
we
cannot
can
see
it.
that.
It's still showing the other information screen.
All right, I'm going to try it again. How's that?
Perfect.
All right.
Well, it went away. Now we see your desktop.
Sorry, having a little technical difficulties. Are we good?
Yes, we are.
All right. This is the itemized budget that you are going to need to submit with your grant request. At the top of this document, you need to list your organization's name, the amount that you are requesting, and the period that you intend to use these funds. Keep in mind, these funds will be deployed beginning in January of 2023. So in your budget, you need to detail by quarter how you intend to use these funds, whether it's on personnel, whether it's on occupancy, equipment, supplies, or other. So let's take a look at an example of what that would look like. Here's an example of an ice cream company, and this is strictly an example, that would request $15,000. They intend to use these funds between January and June. So in the budget, they've detailed every month what those funds would be utilized for in detail, whether it's personnel. We need to know who that personnel is, their position, and how much of the funding is going to go towards that particular staff. Whether it's occupancy, whether it's rent, your utilities, detail out by month how much funding would go towards your occupancy, your utilities, your equipment, your supplies, your marketing, and this is going to total it up. So this gives us an idea. If you're requesting $15,000, your budget needs to align with how much you are requesting, but it also needs to make sense, okay? It also needs to make sense because we're going to analyze this along with your profit and loss statement. We're going to take a look at your description and your application, what you're asking for, and it all needs to align. It needs to make sense, and the numbers need to add up, okay? So it's very important that you submit the appropriate budget for what you are asking for, but also it needs to, I need to reiterate that it needs to make sense, okay? This document that you would need to submit is your profit and loss statement, right? I don't have a sample of what that profit and loss statement is, but if you are a legitimate business who's been in business for quite some time, your profit and loss statement is going to give us a snapshot of where your business is to date. It really is going to give us a snapshot of the health of your business. It's going to show your revenues. It's going to show your expenses at a given point in time, right? It is important for us to really take a look at, is your business profitable? If you're asking for $25,000, but you submit a profit and loss statement where your business may be not making any money, you know, we're gonna take that into account, right? So it's important that you submit the profit and loss statement for the year to date. The next document would be your annual budget for 2023. it is very important that you submit a 2023 budget to us. Even though we're in 2022, these funds would be deployed in 2023. And we'd like to see what do you expect to happen for your business in 2023 as far as expenses, as far as revenues, and how do these funds play into your annual budget for the next upcoming year? The last document that you would need to submit is your W-9. And if you are a for-profit business and you have a tax ID, generating a W-9 should be fairly simple for you. But as I stated earlier, the organization that actually deploys the funds, they need that W-9 because this is a grant and they are deploying grant funds to you. And so for tax purposes, you would need to submit a W-9. Final document that you would need to submit is your latest business bank account statement. Keep in mind, once again, we do have a grant committee that's going to review these applications, and we do just want to make sure that you have a business bank account. We are not actually combing through the line items in that bank account, but we may take a look at that as well. But it's important that you submit your latest business bank account statement. And I would urge you, if you are a serious business, you need to have a business bank account. So those are the documents that you need to submit. I do apologize for the technical assistant for the issues here. The next thing that I'm going to walk through is the actual sample application, right? So I want to give everybody an opportunity to take a look at the application and what we are asking, what we are requesting, the information, the questions that are going to be on this application, because this will go live. This will go live tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. So let's take a look at the sample application. And for any reason, if you can't see this, Deetra, please let me know.
We can see it.
All right, great. When you come to the portal, the application portal, this is what it's going to look like tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. It's gonna give you some grant guidelines, and it's going to tell you the process that you need to complete this application in full. You do need to complete the application in one sitting. You do not have the ability to log off and save the information. So it's important that when you're ready, when you have all the documents and you have some time to sit down with this, that you do it because you don't have the ability to log off and come back. As I stated, grant awards are up to $25,000. Now, the committee, we do have the discretion to make final funding decisions. And so you may request $25,000, but once we analyze the information, I'm not saying you won't get the full amount, but the total amount that is granted is at the discretion of the committee. Funds are going to be released the first business week of January, and they're expected to be spent during the calendar year in 2023. So it's important that you outline that in your budget. This gives some grant terms. I think it's very important for everyone to familiarize themselves with the grant terms. The grants are only made for general operating expenses and specific projects, and they're made on a single year basis. So this is going to be for 2023. And they're not awarded directly to individuals, they're awarded directly to the company. These are reporting dates. So it's very important that we track the performance of the grantees. We want the funds to be deployed in a very strategic way. And so our partners on the committee and our partners at Greater Winston-Salem, Inc., they are audited. So it's important, if you do receive a grant, that you follow these reporting guidelines. They do need you to report how you're using the funds. The grant committee, as well as administrative staff, they do site visits to grantees just to make sure that they're using the funds appropriately. So there is some reporting that comes along with this. So this gives you the grant terms as well. We've already talked about how you need to use the funds. We've already talked about eligible expenses. So please, please, please read over this information before you start to apply. And it also gives you a contact information and email address as well. You're gonna answer yes, that you agree to these terms, and you're going to initial. As I stated earlier, you cannot save this application and come back to it later. So it's important that you have all the documents with you. It's going to ask you for your business name, your tax ID, list out all of the business owners, as well as your business address. If you have a website, please enter your website, your contact information, their title, their email, and their phone number. We also need to know the legal structure of your business, whether it's a sole proprietorship, whether it's an LLC, whether it's an S Corp, whether it's a C Corp. But as I stated earlier, this grant is for-profit businesses. So you will not find nonprofits eligible for this grant. Please tell us the industry, because we do track this information and we do want to make sure that the funds are being spread out equitably to various industries. So if you're operating in healthcare, childcare, food service, tech, various industries, please select that from the box. If you don't see your industry, there is space for you to describe that. As I stated earlier, this grant is for African-American, Black, and Latino, Latinx businesses. So we do need to know if your business is 51% or more owned by someone in that category. And then give us a description of your business. And then tell us how many full-time employees does your business have? Because one of the criteria is there's a minimum of 1 employee and a max of 25. Is your business registered in the state of North Carolina? And then if so, if you have a business license or a registration number, tell us that. One of the criteria is that your business has to have been in operation in Forsyth County as of January the 1st, 2022. So it's very important that your business was started in or operates in Forsyth County as of January the 1st, 2022. Is your business registered with the city of Winston-Salem? Yes or no? City of Winston-Salem, they have a minority business department. So we just want to know that information as well. And if you're registered with the city, do you have any outstanding judgments, tax liens, or pending lawsuits? This is very important because, as I stated, this is a grant. We do have funders and we do track this funding. And so we want to make sure that the funds are being deployed in the most strategic way. So if you have any judgments, tax liens, please be honest with us. And if you're delinquent on your taxes, whether it's federal, state, or local, that could impact your eligibility for these funds. If so, please give us an explanation of that scenario. So if there's some tax situations, delinquencies with your business, we need to know that. It's going to ask you, have you applied for the grant in the past years? Now, if you've applied in the past, that's great. If you applied in the first round, that's great. I encourage folks who've applied previously, perhaps you did not receive the funding the first time, apply again. And then it asks you if you've received funds, let us know what it was used for. This is very important for this 2022 application. Enter the grant amount that you are requesting. As I stated earlier, the max is $25,000. You should be able to explain in your budget and in your budget description, your project description, how you would deploy that $25,000. So if you're asking for 25 and you don't need it, or if you don't have a reasonable explanation in your budget, you need to be able to explain that. Give us a description of how the grant funds will be used. So in 500 words or less, describe what the funds are going to be used for and how those funds will help you sustain your business. This is one of the most important parts of this application because, as I stated earlier, our committee, which is comprised of various business leaders and community leaders in the community, we're going to take a look at this description. There may be businesses that we know. There's a lot of businesses that we don't know. So it's important for you to really give us a well-rounded description in 500 words or less of how you're going to use these funds. And it needs to make sense. I'm going to repeat, it needs to make sense, right? So if you're going to use the funds to pay your lease or to pay staff or to buy to buy equipment, please explain that and how these grant funds are going to help you scale and sustain. Tell us how long you're going to need the length of time needed to support these activities. And then what are the outcomes, right? Because we're all about impact. We're all about impact. We don't want to just grant these funds out because, as I stated, there's some reporting that goes with it. We do site visits. What do you expect to happen once you receive these funds? How is this going to help your business? What are your outcomes and how are you going to use these funds? As I stated earlier, you do have an opportunity to attach all of the documents, the budget, your bank statement, all of that information. You'll be able to upload it. Your financial information. When does your fiscal year begin, right? Some businesses may operate on a calendar year. Some business may operate on a fiscal year. Please let us know. This is the section of the application where you'll be able to actually upload those documents. So it's important that you have these documents available when you start this application because you'll upload them here, your profit and loss statement, your annual budget, your W-9, and then your business bank account. And then, of course, we want to know, how did you hear about this grant? Whether it's social media, whether it's word of mouth, whether it's one of the community organizations, because it is our hope that we've marketed this in a way where the community at large knows about it. And this is also to help us improve and know how we can actually extend our reach. But we want to know how you heard about the grant. Once you complete the information, it's going to allow you to actually submit. And that is how you submit the application. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. But it is important for everybody to note that this grant is going to open up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and it will be open until September 26th at 5 p.m. I feel like I can't stress it enough. Please have all of your documentation readily available when you start the grant. Please think it through as far as how you would actually use these funds. We've seen businesses in the past, they ask for 25. Some businesses may ask for 10. Some businesses may ask for 5. It just varies. But it's important in your business description and it's important in your budget and in your narrative that it all lines up, because we do have a review process. We take this very serious. We do understand that although we wish we could fund everyone, and we have seen a plethora of applications that come through over the previous grant cycles, we do have to make hard decisions. We do have to make hard decisions, and we want to make sure that the funds are being used in the most equitable and strategic way. I'm going to actually pause here and open it up for questions.